I'm back. Well, what's going on now? Second review of the day. They can get a bit painful. But anyway, today I wanted to make a video about a guy that makes wah-wah pedals or converts them or does all 1,000 things with them. He's got so many models and all that sort of stuff. Very, very useful guy. His name's Joe Gagan, or Gagan. Could be Gagan. Or Gagan, actually. I think it's Gagan. Joe Gagan. You'll see his name up there, and you might have to go and search for him, but if I find a link, I think he's on Facebook and stuff like that. It's just not really my favourite place to be, so I don't go there. But this guy really is worth finding. This is a little short introduction to this pedal. I'm going to have a look inside, and then we're going to go and have a chat with Joe, as he was at the Dallas show, and it shows you some of the pedals that he's got. He'll take a standard, well, that one to me looks like a GCB 95 type of case. It's really, really well made, very heavy. And it's got lots of features on it that you couldn't even comprehend by looking at it at the front. Listen, if you're a wah guy, if you use wah pedals, this guy's the best in the world. Just trust me. Just trust me. I don't say that unless he is. And he really is. When you get inside and have a quick look inside this one, I'm not going to spend forever, but you'll see that it's rather different than everything else you've ever seen. Brilliant guy is Joe. Yeah. I was very lucky to meet him because me and wah pedals go back a long way. I've got one of those 69, 70 ones. It might be 71. Who knows? But it's a very early one. And he had some of them there and equivalents, because Joe's the sort of guy I'd say, what sort of pedal are you looking for? Do you want a Vox pedal, or do you want this pedal, or do you want a colour sound pedal? What do you want? Whatever you want, I've got. And that's quite a statement, but he is quite an amazing guy. He's one of them techie types, you know. And the guys like that, I don't know. You never find they're brilliant at marketing, but they're good at what they do, and that's the main thing. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to make a video about Joe's gear. This one, by the way, is called Joe Sonic. Yeah, that's what it's called. So you only need to search for any of that, or check down in that stuff down there. Anyway, we're going to go and take the lid off this one. Well, actually, the bottom. Yeah, and have a look inside. Real close up. And then we'll come back up. You'll hear it later in the studio. I mean, it's awesome. And you'll see Joe telling you all about the things he does, which I think is also very, very interesting. Listen, anybody who needs this sort of stuff. Yeah. So let's go and have a look. And here we are down at the bottom end. Well, you can see it's signed by Joe. It's got its average thing on it. It says Tony on there, so he did do it for me. And underneath you'll find actually standard GCB 95 cover. It don't make any difference to me because that tells me I know what I'm getting. But as near as it gets to the GCB 95 really is just the case and the bit there. The rest of it's all Joe, I'm afraid. And you can see right from the off, this is something that's different. It's also signed by, it says here, Joe Sonic, some date, I think. Something like that. Very nice. Let's go and have a little bit of a closer look at the board. And I'm not really going to explain anything to you, because if you want to know, go and ask Joe. Now, as you can see from that board, it's all very different than your average piece of gear. And by the way, you can have any one of these inductors in here that you fancy, because that's what Joe will do for you. He's got loads and loads of little adjusters. And if you look really carefully at those adjusters, you'll see that each one of them's marked as where Joe set them when he supplied the pedal. Yeah, very important. You can see it says there, Gagan Tone Company, Revision C, so looks like Joe's been doing a bit of work on it. In any case, yeah, very unique board and not to be found in any old place. Yeah, that's how I'd describe it. Looking a bit further up the board, you can see that there's a external pot there that is actually hidden underneath the pedestal on the top. Looks to me like true bypass switching and all the rest of it. Can be worked by battery, can be worked by mains, and other than that, yeah, all pretty normal. Not. Here's a quick shot of the front, Joe Sonic, and just underneath here, you won't see it from there. Maybe if I twist this round. Maybe you can see now there's an adjuster there. See that? All out of sight. Looks just like a regular pedal, and yeah, built really well. Now, what else can I say about Joe Sonic or Joe Gagan? Well, if you go searching on Facebook, you might find him on there, and I haven't got that much information about him, but if you search for Joe Gagan wah-wah pedals, you can't lose him. I know he's around all over the show, so yeah, very interesting guy, and he does nothing else except pedals, like I've basically said. Whether you want a custom job like this one, whether you want a pedal that's a replica of a Vox, or whether you want even something like a colour sound wah, he's got them there. He had absolutely everything, and really great guy, and I can't say more about, if you want to know about wah pedals, Joe Gagan is the man in the world to be just about the best guy you're gonna find. Now, I think in the video that's coming up, you can see some of the pedals that he's got. I think I scanned the camera around a bit. I've been asleep since then, so anyway, it'll be coming up, and you'll see a lot about what he does and all the rest of it. This particular one cost me, by the way, I think about $170 or something like that. But he can make what you want, whatever pedal you want. You know, it's quite a unique pedal. I showed you some of the features, some of the benefits. And these things under here that you can tweak around with. Wow, it's all there, but it looks just like, almost like a standard pedal. It's far from it. So, yeah, how would I score Joe Sonic pedals? Particularly the wah-wahs. Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. I mean, wah-wahs I love anyway, because, you know, some of these other pedals that I keep getting in, they're not for me. But wah-wah pedals, they sort of do something when you play, you know, particularly if you just work on them properly. Anyway, enough about me. This is all about Joe Gagan, and he's going to be coming up right now. So he's a 10 out of 10. He's very trustworthy, and I mean very trustworthy. I paid him for a pedal and walked away. He was still there when I got back. What more could you ask for? So, there you go, Joe. I said I'd make you a video, and yeah, all the best, and now get out of here. Yeah, here I am with Joe Gagan. Now, if you've never heard of Joe Gagan, well, if you're not in America, you might not have. But the thing is, this guy, oh my God, look what he does. This is awesome. You know, I've always been a wah type of guy, but Joe here is actually the Wah-meister. This is the man, and he's going to tell you everything about it. Fire away, Joe, tell him what you do.
All right, I came down to the Dallas Guitar Show to show off all my latest custom creations. A lot of people look at them and think that they're just, you know, slightly modified, but really I design my own circuits, I design my own parts, I manufacture parts, I've designed hundreds of wah circuits. So I'm down here to kind of spread the word that it's not all just vintage boxes or crybabies, or there are new circuits out there, and to kind of show that off, I do all these custom looks on them. I like to paint them up. Oh, close up of that.
Beautiful, huh?
Yeah. That's one of the latest ones. That's a twin Talia. I like to think of my wahs in three basic groups. There are three families, and they they still originate from the original classic circuits. There's the box Crybaby family, there's the Boomerang family, which is actually a different circuit. It came out the same year as the box, 1967. Maestro Gibson. They got in on the craze at the same time. Now, I don't know how they knew that box was about to come out with the wah-wah, but they both came out in '67. They both sold a ton of them. But the Boomerang does have a quite different circuit. It's under a different patent that was filed earlier than the box patent.
Wow.
And so that's my second family. I have some offshoots that I've designed that are based on that. And the third family is in the Color Sound family, which actually originated with the Marshall Super Wah. And if you look at a Super Wah schematic, it's almost part for part the same as a Color Sound.
Right.
And that's its own family too, because it's got distinct circuit differences from the box. Now you can tweak any of those circuits and make them all sound a little bit like each other, but there are certain things in those basic architectures that really make the wah do a different thing. In the box family, you've got that familiar Hendrixy thing. In the Boomerang family, it's got more of a low mids emphasis. There's a lot more expression in the low mids. It's real good for swampy kind of stuff. Funk players really like it. Jazz guys like the Boomerang.
Right.
And so my offshoot, the Bull Boomer and the Boomer XP and the Talking Hammer, those all capture that as well.
Right.
The Joe Sonic is my take on the Color Sound, and it's heavily tweaked. I actually went into LT Spice circuit simulation and spent hundreds of hours exploring what all the parts did to the frequency curve. And I really liked the frequency curve of the Color Sound, both what I was hearing and what I was seeing on the readout on the graph. But what I did was I tweaked and tweaked and tweaked until I got it to go lower frequency. It's really hard to make a wah go wider. You can a lot of modders will move the frequency curve up a little bit or down a little bit. But what's really hard to do, and it's the mysterious thing that everybody's chasing, and people don't know how to do it, is to get a wah to go lower and higher and not lose any of the tone in the meantime.
Right.
So what the Joe Sonic does, is
Is that the one I bought?
That's right.
I just bought this pedal, by the way.
That's right.
So Joe hasn't given me a thing.
Right.
Everything I say about it is
right.
the way that it really is.
He paid.
And this guy's not.
He paid me in British guineas or something. But no, he paid American cash, which was appreciated. What the Joe Sonic does, it's got a really sweet sweep all the way from the very, very low to a little bit higher than a Crybaby if you wanted to, without sacrificing the tone anywhere across there. There really aren't dead spots. We have an amp that'll reproduce it. And what we did to make it even more tunable, more applicable to everybody's different type of guitar and amp setup, is we made it a lot more adjustable. Again, we're using real vintage style parts, really nice old Motorola transistors. We source really nice caps and everything. And this one just happens to have a Dunlop inductor, but we offer a lot of inductor options. But the tuning, we have an input volume, an output volume, and a bias on trimmers, which is awesome because you can really tune it. And we give you all the help you need to tune it if you like, but I actually mark my preferred settings, so you can always go back to my preferred if you want to. The fourth control is what I call a body control, which actually adds mids. And so to get a real vintage tone, you turn it down to where it's just barely above counterclockwise. And if you go full mids, it's just like a roaring rock machine. It'll like overdrive. You really almost could think of this as a gain control, because mids equals gain when you think about a wah circuit. So this is kind of one of the ones that I'm really proud of, and this is our own circuit board design. I've worked with Victor Neri from Brazil, does all my layouts for me, and he's another wah master. We've been working together for 6 years. I'm really happy to work with Victor on the board design. This is actually our third revision on this board, but you can see we use full-size jacks, really good quality pots. Everything's always best we can do, and
looks great.
That's it. So the custom finishes.
Look at all this stuff. This is awesome, isn't it?
The custom finishes are just something that I like to do because I think that wahs are really fun. So it's just like we like a 59 Les Paul with a flame top, or we like a really good looking car. I'm really into hot rods, so I just do this hand etching stuff. That's been all etched. got some that are empty shells, so people can kind of like a bespoke or a custom car thing, where you know, just tell me what circuits you want in there, and we'll do that. This would retail for about 400 bucks. You know, we go all the way from about 180 for the show special pricing for our basic black, you know, Joe Sonic. But it's not uncommon for people to spend, you know, up to 400 and more. I've sold a couple watts for 600 bucks, so it kind of goes the range. If you really like handmade, hand-painted, this is just kind of a stamping process I do to kind of get that model-y look. This one wouldn't be nearly as much. This is another Joe Sonic, but with a custom color. So this one would be 220. This is another circuit I designed called the C&D. And it's loosely based on the old, you know, box crybaby thing. But I added germanium diode clipping, and I turned up the gain. And what it did, it's a really interesting thing, it acts like an old fuzz face, where when you turn your guitar down, it gets really clean, like a sweet wah, like a real sweet sounding wah. And when you crank your guitar up, or if you have a little overdrive pedal ahead of it, it gets real nice and growly. So it goes from clean to dirty. That's why I called it the C&D, clean and dirty. And
good idea.
People that have tried this, I just haven't gotten the word out. I haven't really promoted it that much, but people who've tried it just can't believe how touch reactive it is. And again, it's voiced a lot like a box. This is I call this the Clyde Vocal Master. It's based on the Clyde, you know, box Clyde circuit, but I did this kind of crazy top. This one's for sale for about $359 or $400, something like that. And I've had people, I made a video of this one. And I've had, I don't know.
Have you got that on your channel?
Oh yeah, my YouTube channel is Joe Gagan. I put a video of this one up, maybe I might have been one or two, but I've had a number of people contact me and ask me if they could have this tone in a less expensive pedal. I don't know why they like the sound of this one, but getting a lot of really good comments on how this one sounds.
Well, I look at it, Joe, if you can't do it, matey, nobody can. I'm just in awe of this stuff. I mean, I've seen pedals since, you know, 1970 and onwards, and wow, what a fantastic setup.
Thank you very much.
I really mean that.
Thanks,
you know,
thanks for having me.
I don't see that many people doing what you do. Oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you got a website? You haven't got a website?
I do not have a website. I'm just on Reverb and eBay. My Reverb store is Joe Gagan Pedals and More, and my eBay is Joe Gagan. Just put Joe Gagan in eBay, and it comes up.
Brilliant.
We've had a website under construction for 19 years, and we never got it. I'm too busy making wines to make a website.
Yeah. You have to stay on top of them, don't you? They're a nightmare. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Joe.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for your time. That's really great. Thank you.
Well, here I am with a Joe Gagan or Joe Sonic pedal. Yeah, this is a different pedal than what I've already got, and Joe was telling me that it was set up for a core sound type of tone. Now, core sound's been around, or was around, for a very long time, and when I first saw them back in the early 70s, I think it was, or end of the 60s even, they were cheap pedals. They weren't very dynamic and nobody wanted them, so to speak. This one does simulate the colour sound tone. You know, you've got that very wide wah, and when you come right down to the bottom end here, I mean, it's really low. It's not quite set up in the way that I'd want it, so I'm going to go back to Joe and say, hey Joe, that's what I'm going to say. And you say, how do I get this more like, I hate to say it, more like a crybaby, but with the advantages of this other drive and things underneath. And by the way, I only turned that up in the simple demos we've done to about 30% to where it could be. I mean, it could really belt its way out. So, very unique pedal. Gratefully, Joe supports every person that buys a pedal, and if it's not to the sound you want, describe what you want and he'll tell you where to set it, which I think is a great idea. It's faultless in every respect, really. Very, very well made, like you've seen, and pretty unique. So search out Joe Gagan. Yeah, really nice guy. Till next time, now get out of here.